In this video, I'd like to review some of the basics we covered last time about logging into SPSS and getting started with some basic commands, and also show you some commands to run z-scores that you'll need to do for your homework. So I've just started here on csm.edu, and I'm going to click on my CSM. It'll probably prompt you to log in. Mine logs me in automatically. It's very thoughtful like that. And really I want to go down to the My Apps, or you can just click that hyperlink directly, the myapps.csm.edu. So this will allow you to log in to the My Apps on here. And again, this is assuming that you previously installed the Citrix plugin. That's that neat little guy that you need to access some of these remote programs. So again, yours might look a little bit different than mine, but here's kind of what your landing page may look like, and I'll go ahead and click on SPSS and get that loaded. When SPSS opens, you can see there's this pop-up window here that gives you some options. I usually just close it because I really want to focus on this data view, which is where I'm going to go ahead and enter my data. So for your homework, I provided you a data set that's already in Excel, so you can just copy and paste that really easily into this data view. Just be sure that the very first row in Excel that has the variable label, that you don't put that in here. You want to put that under the variable view. But for the purpose of this demonstration and showing you some of these commands, including the z-score command, I'm just going to make up a really quick little data set here on the spot. So I'm going to go ahead and click in variable view, and I'm just going to pick two variables. Let's say gender, and let's say age. So we'll keep this one very simple. There's a couple other variables in the homework data set, but for this example, we'll keep it simple. So for gender, you can see the default here is it's telling SPSS that these variables are numeric, which is great. The width and decimals, we don't really need to mess with that. One column that we're interested in is this one called measure over here, because we want to tell SPSS what type of variable we're working with. So gender, I'm probably going to code that, and we'll know that that's a nominal variable. And age we're going to measure as a scale variable. It's going to be numeric, ranging from 0 to whatever our heart's desire is. So one feature that's helpful with gender, if I click this values column, you can see this blue button appears with 3 little dots on it. And this is a really nice way to remind myself how I'm going to code gender numerically, how I'm going to label it. So if I click on this blue button with the 3 dots, I'm going to tell SPSS that whenever it sees a value of 0, I want them to know that that indicates male. And I click add, and it shows up in that bottom box. Similarly, I'm going to use the value label 1 to indicate female, and go ahead and add that and hit OK. I could also, in this area that says label, I could write a note to myself that says 0 equals male, 1 equals female. It's accomplishing kind of the same thing. For age, I don't really need to do that though, because I'm going to have age as a scale variable or interval ratio. So I don't need to do anything else with age. So now when I go back to my data view, you can see it has my column set up. This would be like your first row in Excel. It's just put it as the variable labels. So I'm just going to put in, we'll say maybe 10 people. I'm going to put in 5 men and 5 women. So you can see I'm typing in 0s and 1s, and it's automatically, it's automatically plugging in those value labels, which is kind of cool because I can keep track of who's male, who's female in my data set. If I wanted to turn that off, I can go under View and unclick this value labels, and it will turn it back into 0s and 1s. So that's kind of a nice feature. Again, that was just in the View menu, View Value Labels. So you can turn that on and off as you wish. So for age, I'm just going to make up some numbers here. So I'm just typing this in. It's automatically giving me 2 decimals. We'll get someone in here really young. We'll see if that messes with our data at all. So you can see here I have a small data set. I have 10 rows of participants, and I have my data ready to go. So just to review a little bit from last time, we were really working in this Analyze menu, and we were under Descriptive Statistics. So we said that one way is to use this Frequencies menu. So here we can run frequencies. I can actually select both of these and just transport them over. You can see it's going to display frequency tables, and if I click on this Statistics button, I can make some choices here. I can ask for mean, median, and mode. I could ask for standard deviation. I could ask for the minimum and maximum. There's quite a few options here. I can go ahead and hit continue. And I can also, under this charts button, the second one down, I can ask it to make me a histogram, which is kind of cool. And I can even check this box that'll say draw a normal curve on it. We won't really do anything under format or style, so we can ignore those buttons for the time being. So I have my 2 variables over here, gender and age. I kind of picked what options I wanted under statistics and charts, and now I'm just going to click on OK. After you hit OK, you see that a second window opens, our output window, or the output viewer. And you can see if I scroll up to the top, there's some commands. It told me that my variables were gender and age. These were the statistics I selected. I also asked it to make a histogram. So you can see here the statistics are all in one box. We have our mean, median, and mode, standard deviation, minimum, maximum. So for a nominal or categorical variable like gender, a lot of these don't make a ton of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense to take the average of a category. We can see there is no mode. It has that little notation that says multiple modes exist, which makes sense because we have 5 men and 5 women. It does tell us the minimum maximum, and it does the same thing for age. So in this case, it's a bit more meaningful. If I scroll down, it gives me a frequency table for gender. You can see I have 5 men, 5 women, which is 50% of the total sample in this data set of 10 people. And you can see for age, this frequency table is quite a bit larger because you can see there's a wider spread of scores ranging from 19 up to 60. There's only 1 of each age though, so each one makes up 10%. If I scroll down even further, it gives me a nice histogram here of gender, which again, it's 5 and 5, so pretty even split. And for age, you can see that histogram with that nice normal curve drawn over it. So again, that was under Analyze and Frequencies, under Descriptive Statistics. We could also do something very similar using Analyze, Descriptives, Descriptives. So here we could do the same thing. There's a couple fewer options though. If we click on options, we have our mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum. Those are kind of the defaults. So this doesn't have the median and mode like the other one does. So you see that you get roughly similar options. They're a little bit different though, just different enough to make it confusing for people. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here and really focus on this age variable. So I'm going to transport age to the right-hand box here. I'm okay with those options that were selected because it was mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum. That's great. But here I want to point out, you see this box that is unchecked. It says save standardized values as variables. When I check that box, what it's going to do is calculate z-scores for the whole variable of age. So it's going to take the average age and standard deviation, and it's going to use that z-score formula that we saw in the slides to calculate a z-score for every single participant. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And again, returning to the output window, you can see I have my box of descriptive statistics. Again, I have 10 participants. The ages range from 19 to 60 years with an average of 39.7 years and a standard deviation of a little over 10 years. So you're probably asking yourself, where are my z-scores? I checked that box. So the z-scores will actually go on your data view. You can see when I click back to data view, it's now added a brand new column of age, and it's input the values. So if you recall, the average was about a 39. So you can see this person who's 38 years old, they have a z-score of negative 0.15, so they're a little bit below the average age. This person who's 60 years old, they're almost 2 standard deviation units above the average age. This person at 19 years is also almost at a negative 2. So they're quite a bit below quite a bit below the average age in this data set. One other thing to point out, if I were to take the z-score column now and run some descriptive statistics on that, if I transport it, I'm going to uncheck this box because I don't want to make z-scores of my z-scores, and hit OK. You can now see that it's standardized this, and the mean of my z-scores is 0 and the standard deviation is 1. So again, it's just like in the slides. I'm taking that normal curve, I'm centering it at 0 and putting the standard deviation units in units of 1. Going back to our output document here, as I said before, it's really easy to copy and paste from SPSS into like a Microsoft Word document. I'm just going to take this histogram and click on it, and you see it highlights it, it puts a box around it. And you can either do like a Command or Control C, you could do a right-click copy, or you could do an edit copy. So again, just like you would copy any object. So I went ahead and copied this histogram, and when I click on a Microsoft Word document, I can just do a Command V or edit paste, and it'll paste it right in here. So that's really nice. Any of the tables in SPSS you can also copy and paste pretty easily. I'll show you an example of that. If I take my descriptives one here, again, I can just copy that. And jumping back to the Word document, I can paste it. It pastes pretty easily. Once it's in Word, it just treats it like a table. So I could highlight it, I could bold something if I wanted to emphasize it. You can do lots of different things. So it's really nice. You can click it and highlight it and move it around. So there's quite a few options. It's really fairly easy to go between SPSS and copy and paste the output into a Word document. The nice part about having it in a Word document is it's a lot easier to open in different programs as opposed to having to have SPSS open. Another option that some students choose to use instead of copying and pasting in that way is they might take a screenshot or use the clip tool to kind of highlight, and then it will just paste into your Word document as a picture instead of a table. So that's another option in case you're ever having a hard time copying and pasting. So that should give you kind of the basics for this week's homework assignment, which again, it's a nice review of the descriptive statistic commands that measures a central tendency, and also looking at z-scores and how we can generate histograms. So have fun continuing to explore SPSS, and as always, please reach out if you have questions or if you have any technical difficulties, please let me know as soon as possible.